I'm living my best life. Yeah, yeah. I'm living my best life. Made a couple M's, you know. I said, I'm living my best life.
Welcome, friends, to Kiki's Keys to Unlocking Your Best Life, where we share stories of people who have been through their worst and are now living their best to give hope and inspiration to others. Welcome so much to the show. You can find our past episodes at youtube.com at Kiki's Keys Life, or you can also follow us on Facebook at Kiki's Keys. Today, I am joined with a very special guest. Her name is Kathy Peake. And Kathy is a teacher who turned financial advisor that uses her teaching background to help educate her clients, usually single women, divorcees, and widows who might have shame, insecurity, or just lack of knowledge about their own personal finances. After growing up in Miami, she's lived in 9 different states, has 3 grown children, 4 grandchildren, and 5 grand dogs. And she's active networker in several groups, including eWomen Network and National Christian Women Entrepreneurs, and is also a published author. Welcome, Kathy, to the show.
Thank you, Kiki. It's wonderful to be here.
I'm so glad to have you here. Just as a recap for our listeners, we do talk about some sensitive subjects here on Kiki's Keys. So listeners, please be advised, we may talk about some subjects that would be maybe uncomfortable or triggering for some people, but it's our hope to help guide and inspire you through those conversations. So welcome, and so glad to have you part of that conversation today.
I appreciate the invite, and good to be here. I love talking about the subject of women and money.
That is awesome. And that's something that isn't talked about enough, I think. Not to, this is always an inclusive show, and that there are, genders. We were going to talk about some gender norms probably today, but that doesn't mean it applies to everybody. Maybe you are male and you also have a similar experience, or non-binary, but we are going to talk a little bit in general terms about women and money today.
Right.
And that's a really important topic to you because that's what you do for a living, is financial advising.
Yep.
How did you end up getting involved as a financial advisor?
Well, I love to teach. I had gotten a divorce, and I needed something to support myself and my 3 kids. I did get child support, so I was very pleased with that, but I still needed to find something in addition to that. And my kids were fairly young, and so I wanted something that was going to give me the kind of flexibility to be able to still be a mom. I didn't want a 9-to-5 where I had to ask for time off. So I just kept praying about it. And then I saw this little ad, and it said, good paying opportunity, be your own boss, blah, blah, blah. Well, when I went in for the interview, I didn't really know what it was all about. And at the time, I didn't know the difference between a stock and a bond. I honestly had no education. My father was an airline pilot, and he had a pension. So growing up, we just didn't talk about those kinds of things.
Yeah, you even say in your book, the book we're referring to is Empowering Women with Words. This is Life-Changing Conversations. It's a collection of entries from several women in different perspectives. And your chapter talks mostly about relationship with money, your experience, as well as what you teach as a financial advisor. And in that book, you said when you did get divorced, you had no clue when it came to managing money.
No, I really didn't. It wasn't, of course, I grew up in the 60s, 70s, graduated from college in 1980. And as the title of my book is called, What I Didn't Know Cost Me Plenty. So at the time of the divorce, I was married to a doctor who made plenty of money, and he managed all the money. He didn't manage it very well, but he did manage it. And so I was in charge of raising the kids and being a homemaker, which I did love to do. However, I didn't know anything about money. And it just was an unknown for me.
But I don't think you're alone in that. And especially in more of those traditional gender roles, it's a common scenario you probably find amongst your clients who are divorced or widowed or single for the first time. Why do you think women have been kept out of that conversation up to this point?
I was actually talking to a gentleman yesterday on an interview, and he actually said that it's just kind of part of our culture that men are prepared by the culture in whatever way it is. It's just kind of an assumption that, you know, they're going to get a job, they're going to get married, they're going to have kids, so they're going to have to manage all of that. Whereas when I was growing up, you know, the joke was when I was in college in the 70s, you know, we looked for getting our MRS degree or Mrs. degree and getting married and letting a man take care of us and be homemakers. So there just wasn't any talk about that when I was growing up. I was a chemistry major, so it wasn't that I was stupid. No. I just wasn't introduced to any of that. And then when I got married, he handled all of the money. I mean, he was the one that made it, so I figured he was the one that could manage it and spend it. And if I knew then what I know now, things would have been very, very different.
Understandable. So in your business, you do a lot of networking. You're just a power networker out there. I see you in the community a lot. And you share a little bit about your background and how your grandfather was very influential in your life. And you had contributed to his success, to hard working, but also connecting with others. So how do you use connecting with others as a means to build not only your business, but your own spirit?
Sure. Well, my grandfather was a very unique man. He came over by himself from South Africa. He was from Lithuania originally and then ended up in South Africa. Came over in his late teens all by himself and then worked his way across the country and then settled in the Chicago area. And when I was growing up, Granddaddy was the kind of person that his handshake was his bond. His word was his bond. And he was just a very affable kind of guy. He just loved people and he loved getting to know people. And so I watched that growing up. And my mom was also that kind of person. You know, she could walk in a room and just know everybody. And she was very active in many, many different ways in the community. So I guess I just grew up being able to connect with people. I love people. And that's the best part of what I do. I really care about my clients and I really love sitting down with my clients. And I do have men as clients, by the way. But my sweet spot is those women who just really need to be educated because they kind of put their fingers in their ears and go, la, 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 we hope everything's going to work out okay. And they have a lot of shame or a lot of confusion or a lot of guilt. They get themselves stuck because they don't want to appear like they should know, and or they treat themselves like they should know, and they should on themselves, as I say. Right. And time goes on, and they don't know what to do.
Do you think there's some fear there in admitting what they don't know or admitting that they might be ignorant on something?
Oh, absolutely. Most of the women that are my clients just were like me. I didn't know. I didn't even know that I didn't know. I didn't know what life insurance was even about. And with my ex-husband being a doctor, he made a lot of money, and I would have been so out of luck had he died on the way to the hospital, because we had a lot of debt. We had a couple houses, we had an airplane, and there's just, I wouldn't have known what to do. I would have been completely over my head.
One quote from your expert in empowering women with words. You say, we're women with all that entails, and we have the internal scars to show for it. What are some of those scars you were referencing?
Well, I think that a lot of times, there's a disparity that's been going on for a very long time. And I think the key to the disparity, and some might not disagree with me, but I really think that the key in the disparity is that we don't teach young girls that they can achieve. We don't teach young girls how to advocate for themselves. And so when they finish high school, go into the workforce, or go on to college and look for a good career, a good job will advocate for a higher pay, whereas typically a woman will just take what she can because she's just so excited about having the job. So there's that disparity right from the beginning. And then women typically might take off some time in order to have those children. And, then she's behind. So it's not entirely that women aren't paid like men. A lot of it is that we just don't advocate for ourselves. We just don't know how to have those kinds of skills because we're never taught.
That's perfect. We're going to go into our break and give some love to our sponsors that are empowering us to be here.
Yes.
When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about how women can shift their money mindsets and some of those guidances and advice that you have for them.
Sure.
Right after these messages.
Listen.
And welcome back to Kiki's Keys to Unlocking Your Best Life, sharing stories of people who have been through their worst and are now living their best. And you can catch our episodes on Apple Podcasts or any of your other podcast medias out there. We're also on YouTube at Kiki's Keys Life and on Facebook at Kiki's Keys. Again, I'm here with Kathy Peake today. Kathy is a financial advisor and an author. She is a contributor of the book Empowering Women with Words, and she's sharing more about her chapter in that book, What I Didn't Know. Say that again for me.
What I didn't know cost me plenty.
Cost me plenty. And we're talking about money, especially money and women, and about how the stereotypes and our culture has not always been a very conducive environment for women to talk about or learn about money and their finances. Kathy experienced that herself, going through a divorce and having to learn how to care for herself and her finances. And she's taken that lesson and she has become a financial advisor and helps others learn about their finances and how they can be in control of them. So thank you again for being with us, Kathy.
Well, thank you. It's wonderful to be here. It's amazing, the money mindset. You know, I say that I didn't get the money memo. And it's a little bit of a joke, but it's true. So many women don't get the money memo. And our mindset, just in general, about anything, whether it be money or relationships or career or children, just anything, is a very silent dictator. We see things, we experience things when we're very young. We might see our parents fighting about money. We might hear our uncle and aunt talking about, going on a trip, and our parents, talking about, well, they can do that, but we can't. And all of this seeps into our little money mindset, our subconscious. We're absorbing everything that we hear as a child, and we're making decisions. So there were so many decisions that I made. My father was an airline pilot. My mom was an entrepreneur. She's a real estate agent. And she also did a lot of direct selling. And my father, she did very well at it. So much so, it was approaching my father's salary, which was quite good as an airline pilot back then, and it affected his ego. So my dad said, nope, you can't do this anymore. It's either me or the business. And so I watched.
What a scary imposition for your mom to have to go through that.
Right, because she had built this business, and it was producing not only money for the family, but it was providing for my mom something that she really loved, to be able to build something herself, something that gave her self-esteem. And I saw a bit of my mom die that day when he said that, and she decided that for the kids and for the marriage that she was going to give up the business. And my mom was never quite the same after that. So I had all of these messages going along in my head, which are all in my chapter. And
I can see how that would intimidate you from going for success as a young person. Do you think a lot of people, especially women, tend to hold themselves back out of fear of success?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, there was a part of me, the little rebel in me, that was going to be obstinate, because I don't think my dad, he was a unique human being. I loved my dad, but I didn't like him very much. And as I grew older, I could see some of his ways just didn't feel right to me. And so, kind of out of rebellion, I decided to major in chemistry, because maybe my dad didn't think I was smart enough to be a chemist, and I wanted something that would kind of tick him off. And so
prove him wrong, right?
Prove him wrong.
You know, that
See,
was my
I can do
aha
that.
moment in my life too. For me, it was when I was in 7th grade, and my father was a terrible alcoholic, and was ranting and raving the evening before about how I was never going to succeed and never going to pass school, and I was just a wallflower of a child. Then I wouldn't talk to anybody, wouldn't engage in school. And I went into that class that day saying, I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to prove them all wrong. I can do this. I'm going to get just one good grade just to show it to them.
Right.
And so I was sitting in that classroom, kind of paying attention for the first time. Teacher asked the question. I knew the answer. I raised my hand ever so sheepishly. And, you know, just, yep, you're right. Moved on. No bells or whistles. But one kid behind me tapped me on the shoulder and said, way to show up. And that was my aha moment. That was my moment of clarity, that I knew I had control over my education, my efforts, my ability, aside from others in my life.
That was your natural inner being saying to you, Kiki, you're worth this.
Yes.
That you can be whatever you design yourself to be. That you have an inner knowingness of greatness, and as all human beings have that.
What are some of the mental mindsets you talk about in your chapter that hold people back from believing they have the ability to achieve success?
Well, I actually have several of them listed. Some of my favorite, I've named them. Over the years, I've noticed that
share some of those
people,
with us, because I did find it interesting when I read the book
certainly the
myself.
ostrich is the one that puts her head in the sand and just kind of, you know,
if I don't see it,
it's not happening. I'm just going to not think about it. Then there's the Scarlet. So if anybody's seen Gone with the Wind, Scarlet is
O'Hara, right?
Right, Scarlet O'Hara. She's determined and strong, but you know, any time she felt intimidated, I'll just think about that tomorrow. And then there's a couple forms of Noble Nellie. Noble Nellie doesn't think she's worthy, or she's very moralistic and believes that money is wrong and bad, or that she feels like she's being selfish, that there's all these other people out there that don't have, and so she feels like she shouldn't achieve because she doesn't want to shine.
Let's
she's
talk
told
about that briefly, just because I hear a lot of time people will say money is the root of all evil, and that's not what the Bible says. Is money.
No.
The love of money is the root of evil. How do you get women to help them get over feeling like, if I embrace my finances, I'm going down a dark path, as opposed to self-care?
Well, I think anything is all about education. I think beginning to understand that money has a personality, and money is actually female, because money procreates. Women procreate. And so the energy of money is female. So females actually should relate to money even more than men should, I guess. I'm shooting on you here, but certainly education. And I'm finding that the women that I work with, the more they understand, the better they feel about it. And they can discard a lot of those subconscious money mindsets that might be stuck.
This is incredible. I wish we had more time to continue to go deeper into your chapter with you, but I guess that's just a really great reminder for those who are listening who want to learn more that they can pick up this book. I read it on my Kindle, and I know you're on Amazon. Where else can people find Empowering Women with Words?
Well, it's Empowering Women with Words, Life-Changing Conversations. And if they put that into Amazon, they'll be able to find the hardback, the paperback, and the ebook. We are on Facebook as Empowering Women Alliance, and we are continuing to grow. We have our second book with 15 authors that is in the publishers right now with Empowering Women Alliance. And we have a journal.
Another chapter in that yourself?
No, I chose to be on the leadership team to grow Empowering Women Alliance, and
just
that's
like
a whole other
saying,
story.
The female procreation,
that's right.
Growing, the nurturing, the caring for, seeing something birthed and develop into what has become something far beyond a book for you guys.
Absolutely.
I'm really blown away by everything that you've done. Where do you get that spark in you to keep making these advancements?
I think it's my deep faith. Without my deep faith, I've had ups and downs in my life. I've actually been suicidal twice. But yet I always know that he's there to listen and to empower me. And I've always had people that I've been able to reach out to that have lifted me along the way.
And Kathy, if someone wants to work with you directly, learn more about their own finances and to work with a financial advisor, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, they can call my office, 520-704-6221. They can find me on my website, T as in Tom, P as in Paul, financial.net. And they can certainly schedule an appointment there, or they can call me, or they can email me at Kathy@tpfinancial.net.
And that's Kathy with a K.
Yes.
Just like Kiki. Well, thank you again for being here today.
It's been wonderful.
Really wonderful guest, wonderful book. Go ahead and look up Kathy with a K, Peake, P-E-A-K-E. This is Kiki's Keys to Unlocking Your Best Life. Go out and be the best version you can be, because no one else can do it better than you.